So we all have played some sort of game in our life, and the particular game which I'm really concerned right now are the type of games where you create everything from scratch, from your own creativity. There you have to handle the resource management, you have to manage the your characters in those games. And these are the games like Clash of Clan, maybe Minecraft, and my favorite one is Age of Empire. So during my teenage, when I was in school, I used to play Age of Empire quite a lot because that game is so different, and you have to manage like pretty much everything in that game. What happened is that you been respawned to a place and everything is just black in your surrounding that map. So well, the very first thing that you started to do is to you started traveling, and there is this a light is being transmitted all over your head in that game, so that when you started to traversing, it started to clean out, you started to see grass, some of the stones you're surrounding, and it's like a path. So you started exploring more and more slowly, and gradually you find a place where the people like you are living in a small hut, and they were doing really small farming. They are having bringing the stones for building new buildings. For building new buildings, that's kind of good. It's kind of okay. So what you started to do over there is you sent some people for more expenditure. You started to make your farms big. You have to make sure to make certain boundaries because there are wild animals also. You have to send people for hunt, for fisheries. There needs to be boat needs to be weaponized. You have to make a military, and a lot there are so many things which you have to handle on your own. And now there is one more thing. When you send people on the expedition, you encountered an enemy team over there. That could be from another empire or another state or another your country. And now you have to fight these guys. You have to make sure that they don't overtook you. Don't you they don't wipe you all of you out over there. So likewise, in this game, that's how our life is actually. But even in Linux, we have to take the very same approach, and that's the approach that which I think is going to help you to understand Linux in a much better way, particularly the file system. Because you've been respawned. First of all, you need to know who you are. I mean, what's your role is, because there are certain roles in this game, and you have to also define certain roles in your community, in your empire. Also, there could be some monks, there are certain soldiers. Why is it lagging? There are certain soldiers, there are certain farmers, fisheries, who people who do the fishery kind of work. Then there are stone bringers, then those sort of things are there, and you have to also tackle the problems. Then the second thing that which makes it quite these horns, man. Second thing is that you have to send these people to new locations, and for that means that you have to reach to new directories. And before that, you also have to explore your surroundings. So even in Linux, you have to see what are the files, what are the resources in nearby you in that particular directory. You have to travel to new directories. You have to grant some privileges, because maybe you're not being allowed to do certain things, so you need certain authorizations. And this is exactly how Linux is being structured in this fashion. In this game, there are certain group of people who you don't want to mix with your system, with your file system, with your people. You have to do all sort of things. So my encouragement right now is to maybe you start playing Age of Empire. If you love like Minecraft and Clash of Clans, I'm no hate for that. But Age of Empire is a sort of a game which is very intuitive to learn the management skill, to learn how to better manage resources, to tackle challenges from the opposite team, and try to play it at least half an hour a day so that you can build certain new skills. And right now, right here, you can pause the video and can go and check out the video on the YouTube. So maybe you might like that. Okay, now let's try to get into our screen and let's try to see that how it is going to work on our Linux. Hey, it's not good. Don't shut down. Okay, so one of the very first term which usually encounter, other than the file system or the Linux based kernel or the kernel itself, the other term which is quite prominent is your terminal. A terminal is a kind of word which is being used so many times. I have to like stop this fan because it's kind of slowing down my old machine. Okay, so a terminal is a thing, and what it is consist of a shell. And what the shell is like an interpreter, like a translator, which makes sure that you have write down the certain syntax according to its grammar. It's kind of like a, it's may sound like a programming concept, but that's how these things are correlated. So if you started to look the terminal thing, let me just open it. Like wait, the first thing right now, this thing is also a terminal. This, the thing is that it has just get converted into a graphical user interface. So this is just a graphical user interface. That means you can interact with quite easily. And graphical means that you can see where you are. So for example, we are in home directory, we could be on desktop. So for right now there is no folder here. There could be, you can go from downloads from here too. You can go into, downloads from right here too, because these all are links. And links is a thing. Link are a concept in operating systems, in programming languages. Link is like a pointer in programming languages. Sometimes it referred as that word, which points to a certain resources, certain memory location. So these all are, are memory locations. Everything is here is a memory location. It's all files. So these are stored at a place in a hierarchical structure. We'll try to see that what the hierarchy is, how it is being designed into Linux, and how it is being utilized in Linux in a way so that all the problems are stayed out, or our empire or our region which we have created. So this is a graphical user way of interacting with the operating system. Now there is something called a terminal, shell, command line, and this word is coming from these 60s, 80s or 90s time, when we don't have that much of a user interface thing. Okay, and this is what that terminal is. This is the same game environment where you have just landed. Now you don't know who you are, so how would you know? So for that, there is a thing called who am I. Now this who am I is being interpreted by the shell. This is a terminal. This thing dollar is telling that, hey, we are in a shell, we are in a terminal, and as soon as I press the enter key, the shell is gonna read its own grammar. So what the grammar is, there is something called a parser kind of thing in Automata, if you're interested. And operating systems kind of like really complex thing. There are so many concepts. So what happened is that as soon as you write this who am I, it's being interpreted by the shell, like, hey, whether this WHOAMI is, sorry, it's M, is in my grammar, is in my dictionary or not. Okay, it checks it. And now where this dictionary is, you might ask, like, hey, Devansh, you said it that there is a grammar, there is a dictionary, but where it is, how we know where is the grammar, like from where we can find. So for that, I think there is a command called man. Let me try. And man doesn't mean just man, it means manual. Okay, so let's try to do man. Here you go. So this is your manual page. Okay, and there are like, I think every command is being there. But if you want to know more about man command, you can just write man. So for example, man is here. Got it? Man A. What are these things? These are called flags. Flags means you can post on, so think like a check post. So for example, there is this your command, and maybe not like this, you can think of it like an ambulance. Okay, so the ambulance has the blue and red lights. So it could be seen as like what sort of spatial feature or a spatial request does this command has. Okay, and what particular thing you want to do. So these flags actually tell the shell that, hey, look, there is this F, there is this K, what do you have to do, there is this dash T, what do you have to do. So there is a manual, it defines that what is gonna happen with this T if you add this T option into it. Okay, so let me just clean a little bit, let me go with my mouse, and this is a manual. You can just press Q to quit, and you can just scroll You can read more if you stuck in any sort of problem. You can just read right here. So man breath, man keeps stutter, and let's try to enter Q. As soon as you enter Q, you will be again on the terminal. So now let's try to see the manual about who am I. So I think it's gonna work like that. Okay, so here is your who am I. Okay, this is a simple. So there is a name, who am I, print effective user ID. You can also create your own commands, and yeah, in Linux everything is a file, I told you. So this thing is also a file. Where this is stored, I'll tell you, don't worry, we'll see that too. But here, as you can see, who am I is effective user ID. It tells like who is the user, it tells the name. Okay, now let's try to quit from here and let's try to see. So now our first thing in regarding to our game has done. Okay, and will the parser, the shell has checked, like it's in my grammar, it's in my manual, it's there. Okay, now in our game we have to start it to see where we are. Okay, now that's the important thing. We need to know where we are. We don't know exactly, like there is nothing, it's just username and the operating system so name, but we don't know where we are. So for that there is something called pwd. Okay, let's see the man of pwd again. It's gonna explain. It prints just the current working directory, where you are working, where you are in the map of the game. Then there is again flags. You can explore by yourself. I'm not gonna do it for you, because see, if you want to really learn this thing, you have to do it by yourself. All I can do right here is I can explain in a way so that you can remember. So as soon as you stuck in any of the problem, you can like, hey, okay, so that was a part of the game, and what I have to do is to go and check the manual at least, and you can, pinpoint yourself to a point where you can get the answers. Got it? So now we are aware of about our location. It's in home, it's in Devansh. Okay, let's try to see from the graphical user interface part. So we are in home. Now where is Devansh? You will like, where is it? Isn't it? So now here, so this is exactly what Devansh is. How do you know? See, when we used our terminal, this thing is there, and that is telling that hey, we are at the user Devansh and it's in home directory right now, because see, there is nothing else is being slashed out. Okay, and that is what Devansh is. This thing entire here is belongs to Devansh. This is the place of the Devansh home. Got it? This is my home right now. Well, actually not practically or in reality, but logically in virtual environment, but this is what it is. Okay, so we now explored few things here. We know who we are. Got it? We saw also a manual, like the rules of the game. We now know we can refer the rules of the game so that we don't break anything. Then there is, we know who we are. Okay, about the manual. Then we saw what and where we are. Now let's try to see what are in our surroundings. Let's try to do for that, and there is called ls. Hopefully, I think this is not quite visible. So like, let's see, let's do one thing here. Let's try to do went into preferences. So it's your own preference. Okay, now this profile thing is a quite unique thing for you, because a lot of time what happen is that a lot of programmers, or they kind of work and they prefer their own customization. Okay, you can change the font size here and the color code. So I'm gonna use something like, so that you can see it much better, I could go with Solarized Dark, maybe not Solarized Dark, but Genome Dark could be fine, but you can also change more and more color on that. You can use that if you're gonna feel like a hacker. Oh god, that's feel like a hacker. And Solarized Dark is quite fine. You can change background color to from teal to somewhat light if you want. So for example, this thing, oh god, no way. No, we don't want that. Like, yeah, so this is also fine. Maybe you can change a little bit into the dimensional thing. So how about this? Is this fine? Is it visible for you guys? We can also do one more thing. We can change this thing also, so that you can see more and more colors. So if we do solarized, customize solarized is fine. How about this? I think it's quite visible. The custom is quite doing good. And how about text? Let's try to improve text color more and more white. So can we see more? Like, okay, so that's the default color. Okay, now having things in this way is quite good. I think you now know something about customization also. So let's close this and let's try to see that what this is. Now there are color codes also in Linux to tell that what these things are. Okay, and in real world, if I started to show, and if you have, since you are watching this on any operating system, maybe in your phone, that's the very same thing, that's an operating system. So there are these color codes are for what? Your directories, your file folders. Okay, now let's try to create a new file, because see, we have to also create some resources. We now know the resources are there, certain things are there in surrounding to us. Let's try to how I reduce it by pressing the control and scroll to the down. Let's try to create a new folder here by right click. Let's name this as test1. Got it? Now this is a new folder here. And now, okay, so let's do ls again. I didn't type it. What I did is just press the above arrow key, the upwards arrow key, and press the enter. Now as you can see, test1 is here. Got it? Moreover that, let's try to do some manual thing. Oh, no, not this, not this, not this. Just be careful. We want man ls. Now there are certain flags. Okay, so do not ignore all entries starting with dot. What that dot is, I'm going to explain. Wait, I'll tell you. And there are these certain flags also. You can go and try it by yourself. Believe me, you're gonna be amazed by like how many things are there in Linux to be do. I mean to done. And you can just quit it by here. And now let's try to create a new file. How about creating a file? Instead of like, okay, so we cannot create from here. What we can do is, instead of doing that, we can create a file from our terminal. And how we do that? Fine, so let's try to create a resource which doesn't even exist yet. We did the file folder structure, and can we, you know, before that, see, we created a directory here. Can we create a directory from there? Because see, both things are terminal, both are the same thing. So let's try to do it from here. Mkdir, that means make a directory, and that is going to be test2. So let's see, ls test2 is there, look. And if you have noticed something, it's in alphabetical order too. It's already being sorted. So if there are multiple, like thousands of file are there, so you know where exactly you have to look. And you can also tell that which file you want exactly. How do you do that? So let's try to create a new file. How do you create a new resource in Linux? So for that, we have a command called touch. It's gonna just touch it, and let's try to name our file as text. What could it be? So I'm gonna name myself and txt. Is it being created? Let's see with ls, like here. Now see, the color is different. You can see right here, the color is different. Got it? Now if we see in our home directory, the file is there. Okay, now let's try to do something with this file. Let's try to open it. So we have opened this file here. Can we open it from the terminal? How is it even possible? So there are a few things also before doing that. So we were able to open this file. Can we see things about this file? So let's see it in the properties. What other things are here? Now there is this thing permission, which I have been telling about you from a really from since the beginning. Now there is this thing owner, it's me, Devansh. Got it? Access, it can read and write. Now there are certain things also. There is an owner, there is a group, and there is others, so that you can create group for a particular team who can work in particular environment, so that from that particular group, it's like the same thing. Grip yourself in that game. So in the game you created your own group. Maybe there is an enemy group which you don't want to interact with yourself. Now owner is someone who controls everything. So in that game you were the control of your entire group, and you were the owner over there. You can create read and write access. So can the enemy team or the other team can have access? Like none. You can create that. Then there is others who are like just random. You can think of them as animals. Okay, in that game environment, they could be like the animals. And now executing files. What that is, I'll tell you a little bit later, but I think the word is quite clear. Executing means that they can execute over there and can do some changes into the system. You can also, change how you can open a particular file. There's so many, look how many applications are here. Okay, now we saw something here, owners, there is a privilege system or the permissions part, and then there is this thing, we can open file from our GUI quite well. Can we open it from here? Like, can we open our file from here? Like, why not? Definitely we can. Now, so for that, what we can do is, there could be something called a cat. And what the cat is, I'm gonna tell. See, cat, and what was our file? Devansh. So how did I type so fast? I didn't do anything. I just typed the key tab. Okay, so tab is a key which fills out the remaining part of the text, so you don't have to write. So if you remember a particular file name which is quite big in programming, you building a software, so you just type the tab and rest of the things are filled. So what that cat does, let's see. Cat kind of print out the file, and what the standard output is, standard output is a display. So on that, this terminal is being running and it prints out that output over there. Okay, and that's what it does. Rest of the flags, see it by yourself. Now how would you open a file to edit something? Okay, we just couldn't see that what cat actually did. So for that we can do something called, there is a editor inbuilt in terminal which is called Vim. So let's try to do that. Now there is Vim, Devansh. Okay, now we are at the point of something doing good. I told you about something called privileges. I told you about there is a owner. So for example, when I created this file, I was the owner. Okay, and the owner thing has certain powers, certain strengths that owner owns. So as you can see, it is telling something called Vim is not there but can be installed, and sudo apt install Vim, maybe Vim tiny, and there are like multiple versions of the same Vim. Or NeoVim is there, I've used that, it's quite good. So there's certain thing called a privilege or a power or a permission. So there is, for example, me is right here, then there could be multiple other groups, so that groups can have multiple other users. So you created a group for one project, then there is another group for one project, and there could be some random other users like a guests. The guests which came to your house, home. Okay, and then there is group, for example, a group of your brother, a group of your mother, where your mother can put her own entire stuff, work, brother can also put, and your father. Okay, and then there is you, who's, because you're a tech savvy guy who knows tech, so you're at the top. So this how it is. And what the sudo is, so for example, right now you are the super user. Okay, and the super user is generally referred with su. If for like a lazy term, again, since programmers are lazy, so su is there. And now here what the sudo means, sudo means, since you are not having privilege right now, right in this terminal, although it is me, I am using it, but I need certain privileges to change the binaries. What the binary means, the adding certain code, removing certain code. Okay, so that what this privilege allows, that's what this super user is allowing right now, that you can change it. And what that sudo means is that, hey super user, can you do it for me? Can you provide me certain things so I can do this thing, so that you don't have to involve all the time? And these are certain commands which are again being placed in a certain directory. For example, you are here, so you are asking somewhere on the top, this super user, please give me some strength to do certain task for myself so that I can complete my work. Okay, and then super user will be like, okay, let me see what can I do. So the super user fetches and give you some certain powers for a limited time. Now, so that sudo is exactly doing that thing. Let me just rub this entire thing so we can work quite well. Okay, it's kind of little different to use this tool. I really like this tool. It's good. Got it? Oh no, the mouse one. I need the mouse. Got it. Was I recording this entirely in English? I forgot. Or did I start it with Hindi? No, I started with English. Go. Okay. Okay, so let's do what it is saying. So sudo, like rest of the word, I think apt. I think I'm gonna tell you what apt is. Don't worry. Install Vim. So it's gonna ask me the password. So the password is, I think, hopefully change me. Yeah, so that was your password. And do you want to continue? It asks again that, are you really sure want to change some binaries in your system? You want to add certain thing which is going to integrate with the kernel? Like, yeah, I want to do that. So it's going to install it. Now what that apt is, okay, so that apt is going to be a little bit of a, now it has installed our the Vim. And what that apt is, let me tell you. And it is nothing new actually. That actually means that the other programmers have programmed their code and they have placed in a place called a package or a library. So this is basically known as like a package management system where the entire code is there. For example, Vim is another program which wasn't there in our system, so we took it from the apt library which is there. So for example, if we do man apt, I think we will able to see that what that is. It basically means advanced package terminal, advanced package type thing, called a tool could be. So it actually basically has all these packages which we need to work with, which we need to install on our system. Got it? So that's what it is, and that's what exactly it has done. Now there is something also called one more thing, sudo apt-get. Apt-get is also there, and what that is, because a lot of time people just couldn't figure out like what's the difference between apt and apt-get. So apt-get is not such a different kind of a package management system. It's still the same. If I think we can see it like that, so it's still, you know, the same package handling utility. The only thing I think the difference that makes between both of them is that apt is kind of for the people who are not so much of a code savvy, who just want to get things done. But apt get is like a little bit older. It is it's for the people who are working on automation purposes or other sort of things. So now let's try to look at the sudo part. So sudo apt update, and let's see that what's the output is. Update, it's sorry, let's press the control C and it will exit from there. So apt update, let's try to do that, and the password is, as you can see, it's a little while and our privileges have been taken back by the super user. So the privileges are provided in a very, for a limited period of time, could be for I think 10 to 15 minutes, I don't remember exactly, but that's how it is. Now as you can see, it's pretty clear here. It's updating all of the packages which came under, which comes under apt management, file management, package manager. Okay, so it is updating all of those packages, and I recommend you using doing this to certain interval of time, as packages are being updated by the developers around the world. And now you can see that it's quite clean. It's so concise in its way. Now let's try to do it with apt-get, and let's see that what are the differences. Are there any differences there? The chances, see, it didn't even ask me the password now because I already have provided, and I'm working under that particular time frame on which the super user has provided me some of the privileges to get things done. Now I think there is certain thing with internet and fetching certain packages is going on, that's it, but it will fetch eventually. And now the apt and apt-get has nothing too much of a difference. You can use apt-get if you want a little bit of stability, and apt is quite new. It has making certain changes, it's new, so you can go with apt2. Has nothing problematic inside into it. Okay, and as you can see now this game has more and more concise. Why? Because apt has already changed and updated few of the packages already, and apt get has changed and updated those packages which aren't being touched by apt because of the older code base. So it also makes sure that the behind the older code is also being, being into the sync, is sort of a like that. So nothing too much of a fancy thing. It updated, this command just updates all of them. So we saw few things here. We saw who we are, we saw where are we with pwd, we saw the resources around us. We kind of created few resources with, with make directory. We try to create a new file, we tried that. And let's try to also, we try to, print the cat with the help of cat command. And let's try to insert certain data into our file, which we can do, by the way, from the user interface part and also from the terminal. But we are more focused on the terminal because that's where we have to, build our skills. So the sudo apt install vim, we already installed vim, and let's try to see that whether vim is there or not. So vim devansh.txt, and now we are inside the editor. Okay, now there are few things here with this editor. First, there way to exit, to enter. We entered with just simply typing vim and our file name. It could be anything, it could be any program file, it could be any sort of other files also. Okay, and to get outside of it to vim, there are again certain flags which you have to use. Okay, and those are going to be a little bit difficult because there was a time, I actually, got stuck in vim for like about half an hour, and that was such a pain for me to get this thing done. Let me change, if I could improve more on this thing. Is it now clear? But I think it's gonna a little bit laggy, so I'm gonna stick with this thing. Yeah, that's fine. So that happened with me, and we'll try to, not getting stuck here again. So here, what we can do instead of getting these thing in a more complex, so let's try to add the text. It's test text. First, let's try to type this, and let's see that how we can change, how we can take the exit from. Okay, so to do that, what we have to do is to press the exit, and as you can see, I think we are able to exit or not. Okay, so now we have to enter a colon, like there is this side, man. I think, let me do reduce the terminal so that you can see it much better, and let me just increase a little bit of the size. Fine. So now we have to, and after pressing the escape, what we have to do is to, we have to insert some input, and for that you can also press the q for the quit, as you remember in the our manual part, man, which we did. And if you want to keep these changes, okay, if you didn't want to make any changes to the file, just press the q and hit enter. And if you want to make certain changes, if you want to make sure that these writes are being done, so we have to write first and then we have to quit. Okay, and if by mistake you have made certain changes in your file and you don't want it to be saved, so you have to do it like q and exclamation part. Okay, so we want to write the changes, and we have been successfully write it. And if we see, and if we do cat devansh here, I think it's gonna show the text. Let's try to see it in the graphical user interface. Are we able to see it or not? Okay, so the text file is open, it's pretty much the same. Let's try to enter more text. This is entered, hopefully the spelling is right, from the GUI, full stop, control S to save, or you can save it from here. Okay, now let's see if we do the cat command again, this is entered from the GUI. Okay, I think there is one more command called less devansh. Let's see. So as you can see, it open the entire file but in a less way, okay, so that you can quit quite easily just by pressing the Q, and it does not show on your terminal, so it doesn't clutter the terminal. Okay, so now our terminal is quite cluttered. How do we clean? You can press Control L, okay, or you can even write clear also if you're like interested. For example, if I do ls and do clear, it's gonna clear the terminal. Got it? So that's how you can do things. Now with ls, I think we've been able to done what we did. First of all, who am I? Let me do a quick preview of what the commands that we've done. So we know who we are, where we are, we did with pwd. Got it? We to see the resources surrounding all of us, around us, so we'll see that's how we saw that. And we created a file with the touch command. So if I wanted to do another resource, if I want to create a touch file, for example, if I want to create a program file, so for example sum.py, so that program file is going to do some sort of summation, the name itself tell, then the extension, the forward things.py gonna tell the system that what sort of this file is. Okay, if I went over there and try to see the properties, does that has any executive properties like open with? I think no, there is just read and write, and access is just read and write only. Okay, if you want to make it executable, you can do it from here. Now there is other way to do it from the terminal too. We'll see that, but we're not doing it right now. Okay, so from the graphical user interface you can interact. From the terminal you can do pretty much the same thing, and we're able to see our sum kind of thing. It has nothing, so you can just quit, and it doesn't even clutter our screen. Got it? So now one of the thing is that which we also see in our this graphical user part is trying to change the directories, and we'll try to get into some other directories, which is quite common, so let's try to do it again right here. And let me, so for example, if we want to go into the documents, how would you do it? We were able to create the directories too with the mkdir demo1. It created a directory quite quickly, so you can see right here. So demo1 is now here. Now how we change the directory? So for that, cd is there, means change directory to documents, docu, after writing a few words, because do is also started starting with downloads also, so that documents is there. And now ls, there is nothing is there, as you can see with if I do this document thing, there is the folder is just empty. Okay, so now we travel to another directory, and how we can go back? So we can do this cd dot dot. How about doing it again? Does that lead to somewhere else? Now we are at home, as you can see. Okay, now do ls. Oh, sorry, control c. We want to do ls. So there is Devansh, as you can see. Previously we were into the home section of Devansh. There is only one user right now, which is Devansh in that home. Now let's do it again. Can we do it again? cd dot dot. Now where are we? As you can see, there is this just single slash. Let's try to do ls. Bingo. So where are we right now? We are at the root of this operating system. Okay, and now what that root is, as I told you earlier in the video, that it is our tree like structure. So for example, right now the root is this thing is the root. Got it? And now it has multiple folders, as you can see. So one folder there is called bin, then there is another folder called cd-rom. To, as you can see, it's for the the cd, the rom. Then there is etc folder. I think it's related to networks and other files. Then there are libraries. This bin doesn't mean the dustbin, this means the binaries. Let me change the color. I think that will be helpful for you guys to see. How about this color? Is it visible? Okay, let me press the OK. And binary, I think this color is good. Sorry for my bad writing. So this actually means binary here. Then there is this library 64 for 64B operating 64-bit architecture processor. Processors are like earlier processor was 8-bit, one of the first, I think 8085, or it was that 8085. Okay,
then this processor was there, then we reached 16-bit, then slowly we tried 32-bit. I think 16-bit was, I think, Windows XP also working, XPs were working here. Then we had Windows Vista operating system, and then after 32 also starting having Windows 7 on these architectures. Okay, so this is what this library right now related to 64 based architecture lost found will explain. MNT means mounting the drives, what their drives are, the memory location. So hard disk drive is there in your machine where this operating system is residing. So mounting, you mount over there. Then there is something called unmount. A lot of things are there, quite easy. These are like easy. I will explain everything. These are the temporary files. Then there is var. It's all like a tree like structure. Okay, now this var is again going to have multiple folders or multiple files inside it, and these folders are basically files. Okay, so don't worry about that. There is system sbin. This sbin means super users binary. Okay, so from there you get some of the privileges for yourself. Now there is this something called home is there, def folder, boot. This is the folder which is being used to turn on your operating system. This boot folder is there, that is quite helpful. Then dev is there, home and media, root. Okay, so there are so many file folders here. Let me just erase everything so that it doesn't clutter too much, and we'll have a pretty clean screen right now. Okay, so this is our root right now. This is we are at the root. So let's try to hop into which folder should I take you in? Let's try to get into bin folder. Okay, and let's try to do ls. Oh god, so many files, isn't it? So there are so many files with their different colors, with which are telling which is a file folder, which is a executable file, what are the things. So there is mount, unmount. As you can see, there are so many things inside this folder. Etc, no, it wasn't etc, it was a bin folder. So there's so many binaries here. As you can see, this is pretty much, see, the apt get is here. As you can see, it's a file. Okay, so what if we try to see apt get or apt? Let's see. Okay, so we can do less apt dash. It's gonna ask again. So if I press get and then tab, maybe a binary file, see it anyway. Yes, so so this is what a binary file is basically, and that's how it's been written in a way which is quite concise, quite optimized, so that the parser could read it and do the task into the operating system. It's the Linux kernel which is going to read this. As you can see, that apt command is there, and then there is this binary. These are commands basically for the operating system. As you can see, let's try to quit, and let's try to see some other thing. There are groups also, to creating group for the user, and then there are what we can see, like python 3 is there, python is installed, so the python folder is there. So let's try to do, can we go to python? Okay, so I have to do it with python 3. Got it? Oh, it's not a directory, so what it is. So let's try to explain from there that what it is exactly. So for that, I'm sorry, I was eating a biscuit. Okay, you can use something called what file. See, everything is a file in our Linux based operating system. Everything is a file. So for that, sorry, I was eating a biscuit. Okay, and that file is going to tell again the what sort of file is. So there is a command called file. So let's just ask it what that python 3 was, what it is. It is a symbolic link to python 3.10. Okay, now links are something which we will explain in the next video, don't worry about that. And let us try to see what this python 3.10 is. It's an executable file, I think, linked with interpreter. Okay, so let's try to see. It's not a folder, so let's python 3. Let's try to see what that binary file and link is doing. Oh, sorry, see, I have to press Y. Again the binary is same. Let's try to quit. Let's try to see it with 3.10, what that is. That's again a binary. These all are maintaining links and everything inside, connected with other parts of the file system. Since I also created a .py file, if you remember, into the graphical user interface, we can see .py, it's being then linked with when you try to run it into the terminal. And let's try to add certain code. Let's try to add something called a really basic code. Let's try to do sum of two numbers, so 3 plus 5. Got it. Try to save it, close, and let's try to reach to a point of where we started, into the home. So cd home, cd Devansh, I think. Got it. Now ls, we are inside here, and let's try to run this sum.py. As you can see that it's now a little different. Why? Because I made it executable, if you remember, but as soon as I remove the executable, which you can see right now, see, now the file is also showing the, that it's a Python file. If I remove the permission of allow executing this file, what's gonna happen? Let's see. It's changed the color. As you can see, now it's not an executable file. Got it. If I try to do python 3 sum.py, it didn't show anything because it's not even, I think, executable mode. Let's try to change it again. Will it work? Let's see. Will it work or not, or whether the python 3 is working or not? Let's see. Oh, it didn't even. Oh, so oh god, like, okay, we can talk about that, we can talk about that, please. We can talk about that. Don't make a fuss about it. I made a mistake, I know. Okay, so that was such a silly mistake. I'm feeling like Faith right now. Faith is actually a gamer, Apex Legends player, like amazing player. You can check his YouTube channel, man. It's an amazing content creator. So we have to print what? A plus B, and A plus B hasn't been defined. So what we're gonna do is try to add A equals 3 and wow, okay. So I just zoomed in. Sorry. Why I moved entire window? Wait, like I have to place this thing again. So I think it's pretty much fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So A plus 3 is there. I think I went into full screen mode somehow. Then B equals what? Let's do it 5. Let's try to save it, and where it went, man. Wait, something has happened. No, okay, got it. I just went into the full screen. Okay, get it, it's done. Where's my file? Let's see that whether the changes are being saved or not, because I don't know, something just happened with it. So the changes are being made and they are persistent. Okay, so let's try to change the privilege again to non-executable, and let's see what is happening. So what that executable actually does, produces the output again. So if I change the executable again, what is gonna do? File as a program, produces the output. Got it? So now let's try to see, if I do simply sum.py, it is executing and it is saying command not found, because this thing right now is being treated as a command in Linux. The shell is going to see it as a command because of the executing privileges which is being provided to it. Okay, now let's try to get into and change the permission of this file from GUI. We are not we are not like currently dealing with any changes from terminal. We'll do it again, don't worry about it. So let's try to remove it. Let's see that what happened. It's again said command not found. Okay, so that's got a little bit of funny part, but let me explain what exactly happened. So how do you know that that after removing that executable permission or that has any made changes? Because see, the color got changed, you can see right here. To execute a particular file without even needing of a third party tool or the, for example, python 3 right here is a executable file. As you can see right here, it's a link, but it is here. That's exactly the python 3 version is python 3.10, and python 3 is just a link. So when I use python 3, it basically calls this file, okay, because it's just a link, it's just a reference, and now it is here exactly. So when I remove the privilege of executable, the way you can execute a file in Linux is somewhat like that. So sum.py, if I do this, permission denied. But if I again try to, where is the file? If I try to give it the permission, so what is going to happen? Let's see. So now I'm again going to give it a permission, allow executable. Let's try to minimize this and let's try to run again. You see command not found, and there is this syntax error, unexpected token a plus b, print a plus b. Okay, why that happened? Because it's not able to identify that what sort of file it is, and it's not going to produce any sort of output, because basically the file which needs to be execute here or being executable, although python is also a scripting language, you can do it right here, right? So the python interpreter is doesn't even know that where it is. The shell is trying to find out that what do you even mean by that, because a shell program is different. I'll tell you what it is, but let's try to see that what is going on with here. So when you started to write this thing, you also have to add certain type of like a something which tells the interpreter or the shell that what type of file, what type of script is going to be. Okay, now for that, let's try to edit in vim our file name sum.py. Let's try to add a certain thing here. It's not in editing mode, like I think I have to press something called e. Oh, I think it has become executable, that's why I'm not able to do it right now from here. Okay, wait, so let me escape, quit. Oh god, I again stuck in vim, man. This is why now I'm being able to write it again. Got it. You see that it just happens. So we saw some of the you know directory. So this is the root directory, then we're going into the user folder, then we're getting into what, binaries. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna link our, we're gonna provide the environment. So it is, this thing is going to tell the shell that hey, the environment is supposed to be the python 3, so the link. Okay, python 3, what even am I typing now? Okay, so the python 3 is here. Let's try to escape and enter the colon thing. Where is the colon? And wq. All right, what was that? That is something called as the shebang operator, or actually it tells the system that hey, we have to use something like this to read this, because basically your shell is being only able to read a shell file, the code which is written in shell. For you can think of this in a way that an Italian person understands only Italian language, but in order to know that other guy who's speaking some random language, which language is it, if you tell that the Italian guy that he is speaking maybe Vietnamese or a Thai language, or could be Malayalam, because you just don't know, you haven't encountered any of these languages as an Italian person. But once you told them that this is that language, so they're like, oh okay, now I can use my translator, my mobile device, to translate what they're telling. Got it? So this is exactly what is going on here. Now if we try to do the same execution thing, it's again telling me okay, so unexpected token again. Wow, good. Wait, is it even executable mode or not? I think it is. I think we have done this in executable mode. Got it. So why it is not taking it? So let's just open and let's see that whether shebang operator is working or not. I think it's, oh okay, I missed something. I know that, see, it's changed. it was treating as, since I didn't added the exclamation mark, it was treated as a comment. In Python it's a comment, and now as soon as I added that, I just completely forgot. That's just my bad. And just save it. You can also like change its preferences. I usually don't use white that much, but I kind of like this solarized version. This, oh, that's so too much. Like, yeah, that's good, that's good, that's pretty good. Got it. You can do more things here also. For example, you can like, if I remember correctly, there are like so many plugins. You can add these things. Python console, you can link these files. These are there already, so just all you have to do is to link. Got it. These things are now being added. Display right margin, gonna overlap map, grid pattern, so that you know which line where you are. You can have, you know, tab width, everything is there. So now it's now look pretty much in a, you know, quite a different, and it looks pretty good too. Okay, so I just forgot this operator. It tells that, hey, exclamation means like, hey, look, watch out. Whoa, you know what, this is important. It's like that. It's telling that this is important. That's it. And now let's try to execute it again. I think it will execute like, hey, now look, 5 is there. Okay, so that is how a file is being executed. That's how you create a resource. That's how you execute a resource. That's how you travel to different file structures. We're gonna see, or maybe I can explain it to you right now, that what those files are. But pretty much a lot of file folders have their own meaning. Root is the root part, then the branches are being spreaded, then there are other folders which are like, you know, big branches or big holders where other things are being placed. Leaves are there, you can think of them like big leaves. Got it. So that's how this file thing is there. You can think always in a game perspective, that first I want to know my position, I want to know who am I can travel to other places, I can look to the resources with ls command, I can create command, you know, files with the name of, with the command of touch. It's like, hey, I want to touch this file, so the touch be like, oh, okay, I created it for you. Okay, so touch is like creating those files. You can create, you know, going with a text editor, opening it and saving it to a particular extension. Also, there are multiple ways of doing the things, but most of the time you're gonna deal with the terminal, and that's how you can, you know, travel to terminal with cd dot dot. You can change the directory by its name. You can change the directory by double dot. Double dot is like, hey, jump on just above file folder structure. So these are the things here, and we'll see more and more of a video. We're gonna explore a little bit more about file structures. We're gonna see that how, you know, from the terminal going to know about the read write privileges, what this execution thing is, which I saw, which I, you know, showed you, and all of these things are going to be covered in the next video. So that's it for this right now. Okay, and have